And I think it's about 8% in the US. So the UK is not standing alone in this. In the US, it's about 18. It's about 8%. And in Nigeria, don't even get me started. It's some ridiculous amount. I think it's about 30% at the moment, but some ridiculous amount. So for those of you who don't know what the CPI is, I'm going to do a very quick run through so that, again, when you hear it on the news, you know what they're talking about and the effect that it has on your life, because it's important that you know. So a CPI is like a measure of inflation. It's one of the indicators of inflation. And this is how it works. So every month, the government will take a measure of a basket of things that you and I need to survive. Not to have a great life, not to live it up, not to have a big, a fanciful life, just to keep breathing, just to keep surviving. So for instance, they might say, Bebe lives in a one-bedroom flat in South London, and she pays £800 for that flat. So they write down cost of flat in South London, cost of one-bedroom flat in South London, £800. And then they say, when Bebe wakes up in the morning, she goes downstairs and she gets herself with butter and jam. So they will write down the cost of a loaf of bread, they write down the cost of jam, they write down the cost of butter. So you kind of get the idea. It's just a basket full of basic things that you and I need to survive. And then they look at how much it costs to live during that period. So the way it works, like the figures for September, when they release them, are actually from August last year to August this year. So it gives you an overview of how much it costs to live. Okay, and then they release the figures. So now, why is that important for you? And I need to explain that. It's really important. What that means in real terms, so let's say you're an employee and you're a salary earner. What that means in real terms is if for instance, your salary was 30,000 and you haven't had a salary increase, which most people have not had. You haven't had a salary increase. And they say the CPI is 10%. What they're saying is it costs 10% more today to live than it did this time last year. So let's say it costs £1 to buy a loaf of bread last year. That same loaf of bread would probably cost about £1.10 today. Now again, what is the significance of that for you? It means that your salary that is static and you've not had any salary increase, and so this is your salary, let's say this is your salary, and then the CPI is up here, 10%, you are already in a deficit, and you haven't even made a purchase. You haven't done anything. You are already in a deficit. So for those of you who are wondering, I don't understand it. I get my salary on the 1st, and by the 5th, it's all gone, and I can't even point to what I've bought. That is by design. It's not by default. Although some of us are consumers, we're living beyond our means. But even that aside, even before you buy anything, the system is stacked against you. This is what I need you to get. The system is stacked against you. That is why employees do not do well in a capitalist society. Irrespective of their buying habits or their spending habits, they don't do well because the system is stacked against you. Now, again, in the UK, a number of small businesses are already saying, listen, if energy prices go up, we're just going to shut shop because right now we're already struggling. There is no way we can survive. And we know that when this kind of thing starts to happen, the first people that get thrown under the bus are employees. That's the truth. They're employees. I mean, look at energy prices. Energy prices have gone up like crazy. Yet Shell is declaring a record profit of 11.5 billion. Record profit. And their directors and their shareholders are all getting paid mega premiums and salaries and all the rest. Now we can moan, and personally I don't begrudge them, to be honest, because I understand how a capitalist system works. And we can moan and say, oh, it shouldn't be so and everything like that. But I think it's in our best interest, rather than look at how the world should be, to get to grips with how the world actually is and to make amends accordingly. So what are we going to do? Because governments are also going to be limited in the help that they can offer. They're already still reeling from the amount of help that they offered during COVID that they couldn't foresee and they didn't budget for. So when things go through the roof this time next year, or as we go along, the help from government is going to be very limited, ladies and gentlemen. Whether we like it or not, the help from government is going to be very limited. So listen, the bad news is the cavalry is not coming. That's the bottom line. Get to grips with it. The cavalry is not coming. You are your own rescue. So what are you going to do? That is the question. If you're not going to, if you decide, if you've made a decision, I am not going to seek, thank you, great, but what are you going to do? And those of you who are of the faith, who like to bury your head in the ground and say, oh, God will provide. Yes, that's all wonderful. We know that he provides. But even the Bible says faith without works is dead. So what are you going to do? Now, one of the things that you can do is begin to develop different income streams. And so I thought I'd do a show today again on a kind of one of the income streams that you can develop. And so we're going to be looking at property today. We're going to be looking at property. And it gives me great joy to welcome back to the show two of our returning guests, two very special women who have built up amazing property portfolios. And they're going to be talking to us not only about how they did it, but introducing to us a new way of investing in property. Because you know how it is. A lot of us think, oh my God, I'm already struggling financially. I don't have a few 100,000 to invest in property. Hold your horses, there's good news coming. They're going to show us that you don't have to break the bank to invest in property now. There are lots of ways in which you can do it. There's one in particular called fractional investment that they're going to speak about, and that's going to help you. So, without further ado, I'm going to welcome back Bimbola Osage and Sandra Ramsey-Nicole. Ladies, you are welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for having us. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Okay. Good afternoon. All right. So, what I'd like you to do, for those of our listeners who haven't met you, do a quick intro. So, Bimbola, can you go first? Give us a quick background as to how you got into property and where you're at now.
Cool, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bimbola Banjo Osage. I am a full-time property investor, developer, trainer, coach, mentor, and everything property. In fact, I actually call myself a property entrepreneur. So I started my property journey so many years, about 17 years ago when I bought my first property. But just like most people, it was just a place to live at the time. But then over time, I started to get financially educated and started to look more into how to create wealth, and properties seemed for me as the top of that chain of how to create wealth. So I started in property alongside my full-time job. So it was something I did on the side, and every little money I had, I would invest. My husband and I would invest in the property. Over the years, I realized how important it was to create that passive income. I started to see the benefits of having that. Newly married, raising a young family, having such big goals for my life. So I literally started to work my way out of my job, which, by the way, was a really good, high-paying job. It was something that I actually enjoyed doing, but I knew that there was more that property could give me. 4 years ago, I eventually left the rat race, which I'm really excited about, and I've been doing property full-time. So over the last 4 years, I do this full-time, and not only am I now investing in property, I'm actually actively getting people within our community to see the benefits of creating wealth through properties, encouraging people to own a piece of the land. And I think for me, it's if you work so hard in a country, you pay taxes, you contribute to the